parents got divorced when I was in the middle of high school, 15 years old. It was just me and my brother, and it was a difficult number of years. It was not at all an easy divorce, and just, a lot of challenges along the way. My parents didn't really have the happiest marriage for a lot of years, and the prospect of them maybe getting divorced, it was painful. When I first heard about it, it was painful. But I probably also thought it wasn't like a bad idea. I thought that if the divorce was there and it would make the house more peaceful and it'd make them happier. So divorce as an institution for my parents itself did not seem like a foreign idea or even a bad idea. Me as a rabbi, as a therapist, as a mashgiach, hopefully someone with a certain amount of insight into myself. Do I feel that I had all the answers and I could figure things out and it's all good, I don't need help? And I probably thought that for a lot of years. That, my life is great and everything is resolved, and thought through my childhood. And then you sort of wake up one day and realize that if there was a lot of pain in your life, which there definitely was in mine, and I'm sure for a lot of other people also, you can't just brush it under the rug and say, well, that was a long time ago and I've worked through that. There are elements of your life that are there. They stay with you. They rear their head in all sorts of ways. And that needs to be addressed in a very, very serious type of way. Even if you're the most insightful person, even if you have tons of experience. There's a difference between having tons of experience and dealing with issues versus really, in a very serious way, working through your own stuff, so to speak. And I'd recommend of anybody who's been through a divorce, especially a difficult divorce or traumatic experiences, to realize that if it's not addressed at some point, it's going to come back unless it's really fully addressed. I felt that in my own life, and so I would recommend others as well to go down that same path. If the parent is going through issues of addiction, if the parent is falling apart, if the parent is really depressed, if the parent is turning to the children for the children to meet their emotional needs or to be the emotional receptacle of the parents, that is a disastrous situation with a capital D. Instead of the child being able to feel safe, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 18 years old, the child now is in the parental role. The child is worried about the parent. On top of the divorce, the whole foundation of a child's life of emotional safety has now been ripped from under them. And that goes from a divorce being difficult to a divorce being a real source of trauma for a child that can last for years and decades into the future. And those are then the kids that are responding to trauma. Those are the kids that end up dropping out of schools or turning to substances or doing other things because the pain and the hole and the void in their life is so intense and so overwhelming. And that's like really number one of how to properly address making it not easy, but easier for children going through this process. I guess the advice to parents, and this is absolutely obvious to any quote unquote normal, healthy person, is to always put the needs of your child first. That's true even when it's not divorce. Are the needs of the child first? My needs. I need my kid to be X, Y, and Z. I want my kid to do this. I'm not getting my own attention. I need my kids to hug me more. There's a lot of I in that, even among healthy people in healthy situations. You add then all sorts of other strains and stresses and maybe mental health issues in the first place, and the enormous strain that marriage can bring, and then financial issues and who's paying for what and who agreed to this. It is very easy to see how that feeling of child first can go out the door. And that's why parent needs to constantly work on themselves. Do I have people in my life that are calling me out? Do I have resources in my life I can talk to about this? Do I have a good therapist as a parent who I can talk about these issues with, who I can, just frame myself and reframe myself and recalibrate myself to make sure that I'm in my own healthy place and not, bring that out to the children. Sometimes a toxic marriage with unhealthy people is even more toxic and more traumatic than a divorce. Living with two unhealthy people that are just going at each other and creating a total lack of safety, and there might be abuse and mental illness in the home, both parents together, that often is worse than a divorce. Sometimes in a divorce, it's often the case, one parent has those issues, the other parent doesn't, and at the very least you can find solace in the home of the other parent who might be healthier, as opposed to like if they're living together in that context, like there's nowhere to go, right? I don't mind saying this is, a very early memory, but as a young child, I remember like hiding in the closet in my room, right? Like, where am I going to go? And so you go outside, or you get on your bike, right? Or you go to the backyard, or you shoot hoops, or you hide in the closet. Sometimes the divorce at least allows a place that's like a safe place. So much of the conflict objectively and also based on the healthiness of their future, because these two people are now going to have to co-parent together or raise children together, or for the healthiness of the children, so much of what happens objectively is unnecessary. Whatever that might be, not giving a get, or fighting for full custody, or creating a financial settlement that might be punitive to the other person. And that comes out of enormous pain, and often very, very, very understandable pain of one of the two spouses. And then you get lost and then need to get a one-up or to hurt the other person. That feels justified. I feel I'm justified in doing that. And maybe I have my family or maybe even my rabbi supporting me in that. But ultimately, is that in your best interest? Is that going to allow you to recover as a spouse? Is that going to make it easier for your children? Is that going to allow it to be easier for you and your husband or wife to co-parent these children afterwards? So am I thinking again of what's healthiest, what's best, what my children need, children first? Or am I wrapped up in my own very, very difficult process? And that is very painful. And again, requires a lot of attention and a lot of work to work through those feelings, that those feelings do not cause even further trauma for all involved.